Ehlers-Danlos Society has announced $400,000 in funding for a new research project that seeks to shed light on the biology of hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and hypermobility spectrum disorders. This project is prioritized as gap research, part of the Society's efforts to investigate biological causes of the disorder. In addition to global analyses of blood proteins, the upcoming study also will assess patients' genetics. Specifically, it involves whole genome sequencing, which, as the name implies, involves determining the exact sequence of a person's entire genetic code. Participants will also undergo epigenetic analysis, looking at how the DNA is packaged or marked within each individual's cells. Different epigenetic patterns are often tied to differences in the activity of the genes and might feasibly be involved in causing HEDS and/or HSD. According to the Society, this will be the first study to ever look at epigenetic markings of DNA in people with either diagnosis. This project will be in collaboration between several expert teams from many distinguished institutions, including the University of South Carolina, Indiana University, MIT, and Harvard. Back to you.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, like why are we doing this?
Okay. So while we've already touched on some of the difficulties in just getting diagnosed with an inherited connective tissue disorder, we should probably just do an entire future episode on the topic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of barriers. It can be such a struggle to be diagnosed, and there's no cure. So why go to the trouble of being diagnosed with something like HEDS or HSD or another form
what's
of
the point?
CTDs?
Great, can't change it. Now what?
So while we've touched on some of the difficulties in getting diagnosed with an inherited connective tissue disorder, we should probably do a whole future episode on the topic of all the barriers.
Yeah.
It can be such a struggle to get diagnosed, and there's no cure. So then why go to the trouble of trying to figure out if you have something like EDS or HEDS or HSD or an inherited connective tissue disorder? Well, primarily, a diagnosis allows for disease monitoring and management. So proper diagnosis or specific diagnosis is essential to improving your overall health and well-being and mitigating any future issues, complications.
Okay. So there's no therapies approved to treat HEDS. And the symptoms of HEDS, comorbidities though, those can be managed, right? So like physical therapy, exercise. And when I say exercise, people immediately go to
Appropriate.
Do the exercise that's safe and appropriate for what you've got going on. Lifestyle modification, medication when needed. You can, am I talking on your stuff or am I talking on my stuff? I just got lost.
You're on yours.
Whoa, my brain. You know what happened? People walked in the house and it threw me off.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So there are therapies that you can do. So there is no official treatment and there's no definitive. They're not going to say, oh, you have HEDS. Now we're going to go give you X treatment plan. There are obviously treatments that can help your symptoms and you can manage your comorbidities. And that's physical therapy, appropriate exercise for your level of fitness and health, lifestyle modifications like diet, medications when needed, and surgical interventions if necessary. And it's important that your doctors know about this diagnosis because it can affect the way they approach your care regarding medications. I know there's medications that my body does not process. As far as surgeries, certain anesthesias don't work on some topicals. I have trouble with topicals, right? The earlier you can intervene and the more proactively you can approach your health, and that gives you a better chance of having a great quality of life. And for many of us, that's the condition's bigger than us, right? So we're just gonna do what we can. So
yeah. And since the Ehlers-Danlos syndromes and inherited connective tissue disorders are genetic, that means they're passed on from parent to child. Not every child, it depends on the inheritance pattern. In different ways, it's passed on depending on the type of disorder in question. But a specific diagnosis will give you the information to help guide proper management of not only your own self, your own health, but potentially children as well, about the chances of passing on the condition, in a family and about prognosis, like what to expect in the future. So Diagnosis, bottom line, guides proper management and support of the syndromes, which includes learning to maybe avoid activities, approach activities differently, different medications or therapies that could even be harmful or risky. And if given the chance to manage our conditions appropriately, there may be a chance to, mitigate or delay long-term disability and progression and worsening pain and issues that occur with EDS. An EDS diagnosis may also help your doctors in identifying the cause of some of your other problems and managing them more appropriately. Another key component of getting a diagnosis is the support and social aspects. So, like the hesitation to put a label on a disability never seems to outweigh, in my opinion, the benefits that a label can give you in terms of support. So once you have the words and a framework for understanding your health identity, you can explain it to people who not only are, around you in your life, but it will help them understand you better and allow you to get the vital accommodations that you may need for things like school and work.
Right. And so you might make a face at labels, but the label's important. And for me, this is me speaking as me. I don't want to use the term differently abled or I have these challenges. No, I'm disabled. I have a disability. Does not make me less than. It's just a descriptor, right? I
Right.
have some disabilities when it comes to mobility and emotional regulation. So labeling it, using that vocabulary has allowed me to come to terms with the psychological and mental aspects of having it. Well, now it's named, but before. And actually, I wasn't able to call myself disabled until I had a name.
Right.
And
It didn't feel valid.
it did not feel valid. And even though it's valid, I still feel like it's invalid because that's how I've, you internalize it for so long.
Yeah.
So it's a long, long, long journey. I'm just at the beginning of it. I personally think I have a pretty good attitude toward it.
I think you do too.
Thanks. But for me, it's like, I've spent so much of my life stressed out about questions and whatever. I don't know. For me now, it's like I feel like I have enough answers now that I'm okay with a little bit of unknown. Like I feel like I have enough information now to handle whatever else gets thrown at me, and that's
Mhm.
fine. Um, so that's been important for helping me like conserve my time and energy because that's that's what I run low on a lot, right? And so if
Right.
I'm trying to manage that, I don't know. Basically, y- it's this path that all of us are on. It's long and hard, but if you have a better understanding and you accept what's in front of you. You have to accept it. It's in front of you. It's there. Once you do that, you can redirect towards your personal growth and allow you to get the support you need. Because I think if you're not honest about what you need, you're not going to get support because you're not going to ask for it. Even if you're not the type of person to ask for it, even if you're not, yeah, you know where I'm going with that. So
Yeah.
once you have the answers and the validation and you can start to heal the medical trauma that comes along with this because it does, that sense of relief is, the relief comes, but then the understanding, and then you can put it all back together, and then that helps you move forward. And so you're I think most of us could agree that it's easier to face something once you know what it is. And it's not just
Mm.
like a faceless shadow or an unknown, and you actually know it's something, that it's not imaginary, that it's not
It's
something of
not
your
in
own.
your head.
It's not something that you concocted. So,
Mhm.
you know, and then you
Yeah.
get to meet great people like you
Yeah.
who say
And
nice
you.
things to me and make me cry.
Finally, a diagnosis of EDS can help medical research and connect you to a larger community where maybe you previously didn't have a feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
If genetically tested, you can contribute your genome to future medical research. Particularly if you were diagnosed with HEDS, you can assist with the HEDGE study to help find the genes for hypermobile EDS. So
Yeah.
you can pass on the blessings beyond
Yeah.
just your
That's
immediate family.
that's the bittersweet part of finding out that you have EDS is you find your people, you learn you're part of a dazzle of zebras, and you just keep going. And you scroll.
Yeah, well, I hope you found your people here if you're listening. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Hacking Hypermobility podcast.
Yeah. And if you like what you've heard so far, we are advancing in our skills. You might notice that I sound a little better and I'm not in the dark this time. But if you could go ahead and give us a like on whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a comment or a review would be great too, wherever you listen or watch. We have multiple platforms. If you want to find out where all those platforms are, because I actually don't remember them offhand, just go to our website, hackinghypermobility.com, and that'll hook you up with all of the places where we are. So yeah, find us there.
Yeah, and also don't just take the time to like give a review, share it,
Oh,
share the
share.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very bad at
Um,
self-promotion.
yeah, both of us, we are learning that to get the message out, even though we're deeply called to do that, it kind of goes against our ingrained nature. So we need your help
Yeah.
to help share the information to the people that need to hear this. So thank you again for listening. We wish you healthy hope.
We wish you nothing. I'm just
We wish
kidding.
you nothing. I
We
can't
wish
do
you
this.
nothing. I'm just kidding. We wish you everything. We wish you healthy, happy. Oh my God, I can't do it either. Let me try.
What? I jinxed us.
Why did you? No, Shelly sells seashells by the seashore. See, I can do it. Okay.
You
Wishing
practiced
you.
that though.
Well, my name's Shelly. You know how many times
I
I've
know.
said that in
Yeah.
my life? Okay. So
Yeah.
wishing you healthy hypermobility with a happy day, zebras.
Okay.
Did I sound like a
Wishing
weather
you
girl?
healthy hypermobility. Have a happy day, zebras.
Happy day, zebras. Okay. Bye. And that's a wrap.